You can feel homesick for a place you've never been, nostalgic for a time you never lived through. There's a word for it, and a real reason it happens. You've almost certainly felt it. You see an old photograph of a street in the 1950s, a place you've never stood, full of people long gone. Or you hear a crackly song from decades before you were born, and you get this sudden aching pull, a wistful longing for that world, a powerful homesickness for a time and a place you have never actually been. It's such a specific, strange feeling that, until recently, English didn't even have a word for it. So a writer named John Koenig made one up. Anemoia, nostalgia for a time you've never known. He built it for his project, the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows, which invents beautiful words for feelings we all have but can't quite name. Now, I should be honest right away. Anemoia is a poetic invention, not a scientific diagnosis. You won't find it in a medical textbook. But here's the genuinely interesting part. The feeling it describes is completely real. And the science of what's actually going on underneath it is real too. Because underneath anemoia sits plain old nostalgia, and nostalgia has had a serious scientific makeover. For centuries it was considered a disease, a kind of dangerous melancholy. But modern research, led by psychologists at the University of Southampton, has flipped that completely. It turns out nostalgia is mostly good for you. It's a bittersweet emotion, but the studies show it leans far more sweet than bitter. When you feel nostalgic, you tend to feel more connected to other people, more loved, more supported, less lonely. Nostalgia quietly reassures you that your life has meaning and that you belong to something. It's the mind's own comfort blanket. But here's the key that unlocks the whole mystery. You might think all of this depends on real memories, on things that actually happened to you. It doesn't. Researchers have a name for nostalgia about a past you never personally lived. They call it vicarious nostalgia, and it works. Your mind can generate that warm, connected, meaningful feeling from a past you only ever imagined. And that's because your brain was never really a video recorder in the first place. Memory isn't a perfect playback of what happened. It's a construction. Your mind actively builds scenes, stitching together fragments, filling in the gaps, and quietly painting the whole thing in warm, rosy colors. And it turns out it can run that exact same machinery on a past it borrowed, from a film, a song, an old photograph. So when that 50s photograph hits you, your brain takes the borrowed images and builds a little world out of them. A world that feels warm and safe and meaningful in exactly the way a real memory would. It doesn't matter that you were never there. The feeling machine doesn't check the receipts, it just runs. And it tends to strike hardest when the present feels a bit thin. When you're stressed or lonely or uneasy about the future, your mind goes looking for somewhere warmer to stand. And sometimes the coziest looking place is an imagined past, a simpler time that, crucially, never actually existed in the neat, golden way you're picturing it. But your brain doesn't care, it just wants the comfort. So that ache for a time you never lived isn't a glitch, and it isn't silly. It's your mind doing one of the most human things it does, reaching for connection and meaning, and being perfectly willing to build them out of borrowed memories. Anemoia might be a made-up word, but the longing is absolutely real. You're homesick for a home that only ever existed in your imagination, and somehow it still feels like home. So no, you're not being silly missing a world you never knew. Your brain builds homes out of borrowed memories, and that's a rather lovely thing to be able to do. And that's another one of your brain's quiet tricks laid bare. There are hundreds more of these little mysteries hiding in the most ordinary moments of being human, and we are slowly working through every single one. Same channel, same little man, feeling oddly nostalgic.